everyone. We're here at the Lausitzring site for race 10. And yesterday was a really hot race, and we saw not only the drivers but also the material suffering from the heat. At the moment it's actually quite cloudy. I felt a bit of rain, but just a tiny bit, and it's still relatively cool, but that's supposed to change later on for the race. But for now, for the qualifying, it's definitely the best weather, that's for sure. And Thomas Preining is about to step into the car. He's the leader of the championship, but his advantage did get a lot smaller. It's only 8 points advantage ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. So he's going to be fighting really hard today to hopefully extend his lead again, but who knows. So let's get ready for the qualifying. Here are your commentators.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, a little bit more overcast than we'd expected. It is going to burn off this cloud, and it will be by the time we go racing this afternoon. Very hot again. The drivers really, as Verena said, struggling yesterday as they got out of the car after more than an hour of racing in 30+ degree temperatures, and yeah, needing to replenish their fluids for a long time afterwards. So let's take a look at the circuit here at the Lausitzring, based in the circuit in and around the Tri-Oval, which was built in 2000. It's 3.5 kilometers long. They start on the Tri-Oval, then they turn into this twisty infield section, which squeezes them up together and often causes some incidents. There was one in 2004. There was one yesterday as well, and there was a big one 5 years ago when René Rast made contact with another car, pitched into the grass and rolled over in his Audi. We also had a spectacular finish here in 2020. René Rast winning both races on the weekend, but one of them by just 89 thousandths of a second from Nico Müller, the closest finished in the history of this 30+ year long DTM championship. So now it's just about 23 degrees. We have had a radar. Look at the radar. There's been a rain in the air, 1 or 2 spits and drops of rain, but nothing really that's going to affect things here. And that belt of rain, or potential rain, has now passed. So I think it's going to be not an issue for qualifying. So there, as Verena said, Thomas Preining's lead cut this weekend. He came here with a 29-point lead in the championship. He's now got just an 8-point lead after being penalised for an incident at the start of the race yesterday through the first sequence of corners on the opening lap, which involved him, Franck Pereira and Luca Engstler, the latter two retiring from the race. And then Thomas, deemed to have caused the incident, was given 3 runs through the penalty box at 50 kilometers an hour, which cost him about 15 seconds, dropped him to stone last in the race. He did fight back though and got himself a championship point, but only 1 point. Shelton van der Linde in the top 5 yesterday had a pretty solid day. He had 2 wins here last year, took the first ever victory in the DTM for what at the time was the new BMW M4 GT. Mirko Bortolotti yesterday coming home in 2nd place. He was 2nd in qualifying, and with the points that he earned, he moved himself up to 2nd place in the championship. Mirko, after the race yesterday, saying 2nd place was as much as I could get out of the car. And he was absolutely exhausted when he got out of the car. Had to do his press duties. I went and part in the press conference, which takes place about sort of 20 minutes after they get out of the cars at the end of the race, and he was still, drinking, downing bottles of water, still looked like he needed a big old lie down. Jack Aitken also saying it was very hot in the car. We don't have the best cooling system in our car, so he, as fit as he is, he struggled in the heat yesterday. And as Verena said, it wasn't just the drivers that were struggling, the cars were as well. Had a number of retirements and a number of issues with brakes for some of the cars. Now, this is the incident at the start of the race yesterday. This is on board with Thomas Preining, and he was on the inside, and to his left we had the Lamborghini of Franck Pereira, and to the left of him was the blue and red Liqui Moly Audi. They can see them just both going off into the gravel. So that was the onboard perspective from Thomas Preining's car. This was looking forward. He was trying to come from 16th on the grid. So he's onto the tail of the BMW of Marco Wittmann here. They go through turn 1. There is Franck Pereira in the 94 Lamborghini to the left. Nowhere to go here for Thomas Preining. Onto the back of the BMW. The Lamborghini is to the left. You just see the spinning already Audi of Luca Engstler to the side there. And there is how it looked on the driver-facing camera. This one shows it best of all there, looking back at the cars. And Thomas was deemed to have caused that, and a lot of people disagreed with that, not least Thomas Preining himself, but he knuckled down, he got on with it, and at least managed to salvage a championship point out of it to keep his record this year going of being in the points in every race so far. Only Riccardo, Fella and Maro Engel have achieved the same, but it was a really disappointing day for him. Just to bring you a bit of overnight news as well in terms of the balance of performance, a switch has occurred. And it involves Ferrari, because Ferrari won the race yesterday with Jack Aitken, and they have now got an extra 10 kilograms of success, well, not success ballast, BOP weight on the cars. So 10 kilograms additional for the Ferraris, and 10 kilograms is taken off the Porsches. So the Porsches are 10 kg lighter, the Ferraris are 10 kilograms heavier. It won't affect qualifying because success ballast doesn't come into play until you get to the race, but the top 3 from the race also have success ballast, 20 kilograms if you won, 10 if you were second, and 5 if you were third. So that means, having won the race, Jack Aitken has got 20 kilograms of success ballast for race 2, plus this extra 10 kilograms of BOP, which is going to make it 30 kilograms heavier, which is going to be a big difference for him. So we'll see how it goes. But a great day yesterday for the Swiss team, Emil Frey Racing. It's actually the 60th anniversary of the team now, founded in 1963 by Walter Frey, who we saw in the garage yesterday, looking quite tense during the final few laps of the race. Jack Aitken getting his maiden win in what's only his 4th weekend of DTM, and becoming the first British driver to take to the top step of a DTM podium since 2019. So 20 minutes of qualifying to set the grid for race 2 this weekend, which will be round 10 of the championship. And maybe because there's that very mild threat, and as you can see from the clouds there, of a potential bit of rain, maybe it might be a little bit busier at the start of this session. Yesterday in qualifying, nobody really went out other than to do a bit of a recce lap until 10 minutes into the session, and then it all kicked off. So we'll find out what the tactics are, but I would say don't expect too much in the way of fast lap times for the next 6 or 7 minutes. Right, my name's Chris Hartley. I'm up here in the commentary box. We're right at the top of the grandstand, looking down all the way onto the start-finish straight. We see the cars, many of them making their way back into the very wide pit lane here now. The grandstand that we're on top of can, when it's absolutely full, house 25,000 people just in this one grandstand alone. And this spectacular venue giving us a really interesting qualifying session and race yesterday, and I suspect more to come today. So up here in the box with me, joining me once again on commentary, it's good morning to Brian Oliver.
Morning, Chris. Very different to yesterday, isn't it? It was, as you mentioned, a bit of a dash at the end of the qualifying session. Nothing much happening for the first 10 minutes. It was just Sandra Holzem who was pretty well going around solo for the first part of qualifying, and then everybody was out. Of course, the weather conditions were hotter. The track was getting faster. You saw on the radar there is rain in the area. Now, this is the question. Do you go out and put in a banker lap early on in case of rain during this qualifying session, but in so doing you may use up your tyres more than you'd want to, or do you leave it till late in the session when the track is potentially going to be quicker? Because if it stays dry, then it'll be in the closing few minutes that you're going to have a really competitive time. So the team's having to take a bit of a gamble. Personally, I don't think it's going to rain in the next 15 minutes, 16 minutes or so. Sheldon van der Linde out on track at the moment, just getting some heat into the tyres, into the brakes. Of course, it takes a couple of laps to get the tyres into the window. No tyre warmers allowed. So it'll be interesting to see what the strategy is going to be. It's going to be a very interesting quarter of an hour coming up.
So yesterday, Jack Aitken took pole position with a lap time of 1 minute 19.937 seconds, just to give you an idea of the kind of times we should be looking at in the low 120s, high 119s, if the track is as quick as yesterday. We've also got the issue of where they've been able to save a brand new set of tyres for this. You get three for this weekend. You get 3 sets of new slick Pirelli tyres, which have to last 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races, and you have to have a set of new ones, brand new ones, to use in the race. So it might be that they're not on brand new tyres. As Sheldon carries on, Lucas Auer, he's having an animated conversation in the garage with his race engineer. Caught up with Lucas yesterday, and he qualified third, his best qualifying of the year. He didn't quite hold on to a podium because it was a really good pit stop section for Kelvin van der Linde. That's where he jumped, Lucas Auer, and got himself up into third place. So Lucas was 4th off the back of his double podium at the Nürburgring last time out. But he said to me, I think third place was as good as it could have been. We didn't, podium was on the cards. We could have got third, but I definitely wasn't quick enough. The car wasn't quick enough to challenge either the Ferrari or the Lamborghini yesterday. But he said it was so hot. He said the car was fine. I wasn't struggling. The tyres weren't struggling at the end of the race. The brakes were okay. But it was so hot. And he said, seriously, he said, I had to go and get in the back of the truck after I got out of the car before I did my press duties. Just had to have a lie down for a minute. And he is, one of the fittest guys out there, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, it was pretty hot just watching it, and we could see the drivers, they were so exhausted. Max Powell wasn't really able to make it to the checkered flag, such was the exhaustion in the car. Yes, we were chatting over breakfast this morning about Lucas Auer, who is always there. You can see 5th in the championship, just 34 points adrift. He's been creeping up quietly in the background. And we were speculating this morning with the Ferraris being pegged back, not only with the BOP adjustment overnight, but with the success ballast in the Jack Aitken car. We reckon Lucas Auer could be one of the drivers that could become the 10th winner in 10 races here in the 2023 season. Also, Kelvin van der Linde, we've said it before, we say it again, he's a man on a mission. 59 points adrift from the leaders in the points standings. He's not out of the championship hunt by any stretch of the imagination, but he is saying that he feels as though he's not really seriously a contender. So he is going for the win. And when he's in that position, he's a dangerous man. When his back's against the wall, Kelvin van der Linde will have his elbows out. And I would expect to see him somewhere near the front today, potential winner.
Yeah, I think so. He said after the race yesterday, I was annoyed with myself after qualifying because I made a slight mistake. It cost me 300. It cost me a place on the front row of the grid because there were only 83 thousandths of a second between the top 4 in qualifying yesterday, and Kelvin was 4th in qualifying, but managed to get his first podium for more than 12 months, and he was quite emotional on the podium. Spoke to him afterwards as well, and he was just hugely pleased with 3rd place. He said it's been a tough couple of seasons. 2021 had a great year. You feel like you can't do anything wrong. If there's any accidents, they never seem to happen around you. But then I've had a couple of years where all, wherever I am on the grid, something seems to go wrong. I'm involved in an accident. Somebody around me has an issue. He's had a couple of car issues as well. He said, so it's really taught me to just savour every moment when you have a good day and when you get yourself on the podium, just make the most of it, because you never know when the next one is coming. And he was really pleased for the team as well, because the team have deserved this. They've worked really hard. They've given me a great car. We just haven't had any good luck, or we've had lots of bad luck more to the point in the first half of the season. So he was absolutely thrilled with 3rd place yesterday, but I suspect he might want a bit more today as we get Thomas Prining's radio.
Delida just in front. Delida straight to the front and Bortolotti one front. See if you can take him on the out. I think this would make sense.
So Thomas Prining's engineer saying, right, get past that Lamborghini if you can, of Mirko Bortolotti, to give yourself a bit of track position. You've got Maro Engel in the Mamba liveried Mercedes, and then right behind him, Engin Güven in the Porsche. And Maro Engel managed to get in the points after serving one run through the penalty box for an incident at the start of the race yesterday as well. So he's still thereabouts. You've seen the driver standings. In terms of the team standings, Manthey EMA lead, but that's an even smaller margin than the points in the Drivers' Championship. They've only got 7-point advantage now over SSR Performance. And they've got 174 points. SSR have got 167, and Schubert Motorsport are 3rd on 158. Abt Sportsline 4th on 149 points. And in the manufacturers' standings, Ferrari got their first win of the year yesterday. So all of the 6 brands have now won at least one race. The most wins have gone to Lamborghini. They've had 3 victories, but we've got 247 points for Porsche, 229 for Lamborghini, and 211 for Mercedes as the top 3. Replay on board with Thomas Prining behind the 2 Lamborghinis of Mirko Bortolotti and Franck Pereira, and just giving himself some track space here to try to go for a lap there. Lighter the Porsches, 10 kilograms lighter. Will that make enough of a difference? For the 2nd consecutive qualifying session yesterday, the championship leader could only qualify in 16th place. Prior to yesterday's average grid had been, for the season, his average qualifying for the season had been 5th place, but that ratio has gone down now with a couple of bad qualifying performances.
Interesting, we're heading towards the halfway point of the session, and Sheldon van der Linde, it looks like he's doing something a bit different to everybody else in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. He's been out there pretty well for the whole session. He's done 3 laps. He's at a 1:23.593, so still 3 or 4 seconds, well, 3 seconds off what we would expect from him. But he's been out there very much on an open track. It's going to get very busy in the closing stages of this qualifying session. You can see it there. It's properly packed on the exit of turn 5 in towards turn 6, and finding a bit of space might be an issue. Car 84, that's Yusufa Vega, is under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, so there may well be a penalty coming his way as a result of that.
Yeah, so officials got their eye on him. Also to say that wherever he qualifies, Maximilian Paula's got a 3-place grid penalty for the race this afternoon. That's due to the number of warnings he's picked up over the last couple of races, so he's accumulated enough to give him a penalty for the race. The winner of race 2 at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago is probably making his last appearance, probably in DTM this year. He's just come in as a not as a guest driver, because he's able to score points, but he's come in to stand in for Mick Viesover, who's dropped out of the Grasser Racing team. But his commitments with the GT Open Championship, I think, mean that clashes with DTM for the rest of the season, we probably won't see him again. Right, Van der Linde's first and second, but lap time's not quick yet. 1:23.593 for Sheldon, 1:25.674 for Kelvin. So again, it's going to be going down to the last 7 or 8 minutes of the session where we start to see some proper lap times. There's Ricardo Feller, still the only driver this season to score a double pole position.
Now you have Maini behind with this pushing, but it's good if we can hold the position. Gap to him is 3 seconds.
It's all a bit cagey out there, Brian, isn't it? Everybody just sort of waiting to see who pulls the trigger first, waiting to make sure you've got enough space not to get involved in any traffic, because the problem is everybody's out at the same time now, and you could trip over each other, hold each other up.
Yeah, I mean, it actually feels quite tense, really, doesn't it? The clock's ticking down. We're less than 8 minutes. We haven't really got a competitive time on the board. We're waiting for the first one to go purple in the sectors. Kelvin van der Linde has turned the wick up a bit now at 27.350 in sector 1, but he's still got a bit more to come after that. But it's finding the space. If we get a full course yellow or red flag in the last few minutes, this will really mess up the grid order.
Yeah, and Jack Aitken's the only one that's not put a lap time in yet, so he's stone last as a result of that. Not that there's been any quick lap times, but it's about to start winding up. So Kelvin van der Linde pushing on. We've just had Thierry Vermeulen, who finished in the top 10 yesterday, drove really well in the second Ferrari. He's just done an absolute best first sector time of 27.135 seconds. Kelvin van der Linde stays second, so he backed off on that last, he backed off a lot actually through the last sector, which suggests he's finding track spaces, he's winding it up for his first proper lap on this go. They should be able to get 2 back-to-back quick laps out of these tyres, possibly 3, but it's usually 2, maybe 2.5, that's it. So Vermeulen is looking to wind things up as well. It's not going to be a massively quick lap time this, even though he's shown purple sector, green sector, just because everybody's sort of trundling around at the moment. So no absolutely mega quick sector times as yet, but everybody's at least completed at 1 lap now. Right, Ricardo Feller on the push here in the Audi.
It's a real science getting these tyres into the window. You've got to get them at exactly the right temperature. You can see the drivers weaving, tyre warmers are not allowed. To get the tyres to the optimum temperature takes a couple of laps, as you already mentioned, then to find the space. This is not just a case of just going out and going flat out all the way round. It's you've got to get the tyres there, you've got a couple of laps then to use them, find that space, get them in the window, hold them in that window, and that's what the drivers are trying to do at the moment.
It's going to be a last-minute dash, this, isn't it? Less than 6 to go. Oh dear, Alessio De Leda's gone off the road and into the gravel trap. This is exactly what everybody out there on track did not want. The possibility of waved yellows, maybe even a full course yellow. So yellows at the moment is at turn 7. This is where on Friday Clement Schmidt went off the road in his Lamborghini. It's a massive big gravel trap there. I can see out of the window that Alessio is only just off the curb at the edge of the track, so he's in the gravel trap, but he's probably only about 5 or 6 metres into the gravel trap, so he's very precariously close to the edge of the circuit where the car has come to a rest. Marco Wittmann has gone past that point. Thierry Vermeulen has gone past the line, and that's the first proper lap time. It's still not anywhere near as quick as yesterday, but a 1:21.998, and the session is going to be red flagged and stopped, and the clock will stop as well with just over 5 minutes left on it.
So all that hard work, getting those tyres into the window, you've used them up a little bit, you've got them to the optimum temperature, you're about to turn it up and go for that lap. Suddenly, you're coming back into the pits. The heat's going to go out the tyres. The rhythm has gone out your driving. This is exactly the kind of thing that gives us a mixed-up grid. Let's take another look at what happened as Alessio Delida goes spinning just kind of off the corner of your shot, and you see probably got a couple of wheels onto the curb. There's no way you could leave him there, so it was always going to be a stoppage in the qualifying session.
Yeah, it's a little bit bumpy into that corner, isn't it? It's one of the quicker infield corners, turn 7. They go into it and drop down to 3rd gear, so it's still about 135 kilometers an hour in the middle of that corner. Just lost the back end under braking on the way into the turn, and it's just a narrow strip of grass before you're in that gravel trap, which, as I say, is huge. It's a massive gravel trap there, so difficult to get out of it. So red flag. Because he caused the red flag, he's going to lose his fastest lap time. So that's going to put him to the back. I mean, he's 26 out of 28 anyway. And unless he can get back to the pits under his own steam, if he's recovered back, then he won't be able to take any further part in the session, the Italian driver. So everybody queues up. Now, this is important, Brian, because with so little time left on the clock, you've now got to build heat into the tyres again. You've got to do at least one lap before you can start to push. You want to be at the front of that queue, because if you're at the back of that queue, it can take you an extra 30, 45, maybe even 50 seconds to get out of the pit lane, and that could be the difference between crossing the line with a few seconds to go and getting an extra lap in the session or not.
This is going to be one of those sessions where the last person across the line when the clock strikes 0 is potentially going to be the pole position fastest time. So they're queued up there, finding the space as well out on the track. We are going to see every car, with the exception of Alessio Delida, out on track when this session gets restarted. It's going to be a frantic 5 minutes. It's effectively a 5-minute qualifying session because there is nobody who's really put a mega competitive time at the moment. So it is, we could have just saved ourselves a quarter of an hour and had a 5-minute qualifying session, really, couldn't we? It's going to be exciting as Olaf Mante looks on. He's as nervous as we are.
We've seen it all before, has Olaf. A hugely successful team, Manti. Great to have them back in the DTM for the first time in 20 years. So the Marshals have got possibly a tricky situation here, because on Friday it was a Lamborghini that went off in the same gravel trap, but Clement Schmidt. And the issue was that when they put it up the telehandler, so they hoisted it off the gravel, it was the where the positioning is on the car, where you hook it onto the telehandler. It's more towards the back of the car, so the front of the Lamborghini was sort of tipping forward and dragging in the gravel. So we had to have about 4 marshals pushing down on the rear wing of the Lamborghini to lift the front up. And it all took a lot longer than expected, didn't it? So it could be a bit of a delay here, unless they've figured a way of doing it a bit more simply.
Need someone to go and sit on the front bumper of the car while they try and move it, don't they? Yeah, these marshals, they were out in the boiling hot sun yesterday doing a great job. Always kept busy. The gravel traps here are especially deep. They do what they're meant to do. That's stop the cars from reaching the fence, but it means that when you have to extract them, it's pretty hard work. Just looking out the window, they have got the Lamborghini up in the air, or we can see that on the screen now. It looks like they've picked it up. Slightly better balancing position there. Alessio Delida is like, look after the car, please, mate. Don't bounce it on the ground. They're expensive, these things.
Yeah, you can see it dipping down again. I think they've raised it a bit higher than they did the other day, so there's a bit of clearance at least. So hopefully it won't be long in that case. They've figured a better way of getting Lamborghinis out of the gravel trap. Right, so just over 5 minutes to go. It's a minute 20 to get around the lap when you're flying, so from a pit lane start, building speed up, make that about 1 minute and 40 seconds, so then you're down to just more than 3 minutes before you even start your flying lap. So they've got time to get 2 flying laps in, but only just, and I would say, probably those at the front of the queue might get 1 more in. There's a queue formed, but not everybody's in the queue. There's quite a few Porsches, Lamborghinis down there. I can see Audis, BMWs, who are all in there outside their pit garages. You see the Marshals balancing the Lamborghini. Don't drop it, lads.
So it is going to be fairly frantic, of course, with that amount of tension and that amount of effort going in. What we don't want to see is another car going into the gravel in the next 5 minutes, because that really will mix things up a bit. But it's going to be exciting. I expect we're going to be getting going fairly soon now, because the Alessio Della Dakar is to a safe place. So we should get notification any second that the green flags will be out. But this is going to be intense. This is going to be a really exciting 5 minutes. It could be anybody's. Lauren Heinrich, he's going to have a clear track in front of him when he comes out, so he'll be in a really good position in the number 75 Porsche.
Feels like it's going to be a complete lottery, this.
Yes.
Could go any which way.
Let's have some rain as well, shall we? That'll brighten up.
Always the case, isn't it, in DTM? Even when you don't get red flags and tense few minutes of the session, we've had already 8 different pole sitters from 9 qualifying sessions this year. As I say, Riccardo Fella is the only driver to get on pole position more than once. So there, Lauren Heinrich in the Team Bernhard Porsche. His first season of DTM is at the front of the queue. The Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland champion, a front runner, a top 3 finisher in the Porsche Super Cup, and now a podium finisher in the DTM. René Rast is equal on pole positions with the great Bernd Schneider, and if he gets one more, he'll have the all-time record with 26 for the most number of pole positions in the DTM. Fans seeing themselves on the big screens waving to the cameras already here in their droves. It was it's deceptive when you look around the grandstands, because they're so vast that you think not that many people here, but actually you realise it is rammed when you go down into the paddock and go down at the foot of the grandstand into the fan area. Right, the session's going to be resumed in 30 seconds time. So 30 seconds, we're going to get back underway. It's going to be a 5-minute qualifying session. 20 minutes sounds short, doesn't it? But they've just given up on this old-fashioned version of, you know, having one run, couple of laps, coming in, making a few changes, going back out and having another blast. It's all been left to the last minute, and just as they were about to start to get going, that was when the red flags came out. So let's see how it all pans out now. You've got Maro Engel second in the queue, Dennis Olsen third in the queue. Lauren Heinrich leads them out onto the circuit then, on board with Lucas Au. Let's hear from his team radio.
Yeah, then full push out lap. Maybe you can overtake Engstler. Fella will probably try to overtake Maini. And I think Fella is not a bad guy to stay.
So we're going to have a race now,
yes,
basically. A race to the start-finish line. Everyone start overtaking each other.
Amazing. Yeah. Strategy out the window. Get out there, get the tyres up to temperature, and overtake anybody you can. Find some space.
Yeah, get behind Riccardo Fella. He's not a bad driver to follow. Yeah, that's exactly what Lucas Au is doing, getting past Luca Engstler, or trying to. Lucas fighting back on the way into turn 6 as they come off the tri-oval. Look at this, side by side. Hello, we're 3 hours too early for the race, lads. Howard gets past eventually.
I think the Engstler team are saying, stay behind Riccardo Fella, he's really quick.
Fella's looking in the mirror and saying, what's going on?
They all want to follow me.
I thought it was qualifying. Right, out they all go then, and trying to give themselves track position, but also not get there too slowly to start the laps, in the hope that they'll have enough time to get 2, maybe 3 push laps in. So the leading cars just making their way through turns 11 and 12 have had to start flying laps. And you can see they're all backing off. Au's actually gone ahead of Riccardo Fella now, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's not quick enough for me. I'm going to go in front of him.
Great view looking back from him as well. Right, now he's onto the accelerator, finding that space. You can see nice and evenly spaced as they come down the pit straight. Of course, you get turbulence from the car in front. You could potentially get a slipstream if you're close enough. But there is Lucas Stoltz. He's close to Luca Engstler as well. In the background, Marvin Deanston, his first weekend of the year in the DTM. Here come the rest of them. But Lauren Heinrich at the front of the queue at the moment. He's got an open track in front of him. That's until he catches all the other cars that are backing off, of course.
Do you know who's last in the queue and only just at turn 7? He's not that far in front of Lauren Heinrich, who's starting his first push lap. It's Sheldon van der Linde. So he was deliberately weighted to the back of the queue. He's just going down towards turn 8. He hasn't even started his first push lap yet, and we've got just 2 minutes 55 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, the time is running out. Just keep it on the track, please, everybody. We don't want any more yellow flags. So, Lauren Heinrich.
Thierry Vermeulen wouldn't mind a red flag right now. He's top of the time.
Yeah.
Tim Heidemann second, Marco Wittmann third, Sandra Holtzum in 4th place. Take a photo. Let's see if it stays anything like this. I doubt it. In the next few minutes.
Stop the count.
Here comes Lauren Heinrich then. So I don't think it'll be this lap that'll be the one to really get the eyes raised, but it'll be on the next lap. So Heinrich now about to really start pushing. Yeah, only a 122.6. Fourth place though with that. Right, Thomas Priding, you're going to get a good qualifying here. You don't want to be in the pack again. You don't want to be involved in these midfield battles. You don't want to have any risk of contact or damage. You're leading the championship. You certainly don't want any penalties today. Best way to avoid all that is to get to the front of the pack. They've got slightly lighter cars now with the change to the BOP, the Porsches. Can he get himself somewhere near the front and get a good qualifying for the first time in 3 sessions?
He was flashing the lights at Thierry Vermeulen, telling him to get out of the way. He decided he's not going to get past him, so he's now backed out of it. But behind him is Iron Chen Guven, so he needs to make sure that Guven doesn't try and get past him as well. Also in the background was David Schumacher. This is Clemens Schmid coming round to start what will be his push lap.
Dennis Olsen has just set the absolute best first sector time in the green number 90 Manthey EMA Porsche, 27.105 seconds through that first sector. The second sector is a short one. It only takes in turns 6 and 7. Here is Dennis Olsen then coming through the second sector into turn 8, where they decelerate from 180 down to just 80 kilometers an hour. But Thierry Vermeulen has now gone even quicker, 26.398 through the first sector, loads quicker. So Vermeulen's going to have the first real impressive lap, I think, of the session as he goes through in the number 69 Ferrari into the middle sector. So he's the one to watch. Olsen is going to set a pretty good time here, but I don't think it's going to be anything like as quick as Vermeulen when he gets by. 21.3 through the middle sector. He's lost out in the middle sector though, Vermeulen. So Olsen goes second quickest, but Vermeulen, great start to the lap, but he's down in the middle sector.
Yeah, it looked like that middle sector is what tripped him up, so maybe he's going to back out of it and have another go. He's still got time to get another lap in, so Vermeulen going again, but he's up it behind Marvin Dienst as well, so that's traffic that's in his way.
So Auer has gone quickest, Feller second. You just watch Jack Aitken going over the line for third. 121.384 for Auer, 121.419 for Feller. Vermeulen did enough briefly to be on provisional pole, but right behind him on the track is Thomas Priding, and the championship leader has gone to the top of the times, 121.280 seconds. Scratch that, Bortolotti goes quicker. Then forget about that, because Schmidt goes across the line, and he goes quicker still, 121.098 seconds. The clock is just ticked down to 0. Last chance, last roll of the dice for everybody. It's going to be a one-lap shootout for pole position. That means you've got to get everything perfect. You can't make any mistakes. You can't get stuck in the traffic. So Schmidt, Bortolotti, Priding are the top 3 as it stands. Is anybody going to go purple in the sectors? Ours going well. He's on personal bests here. He's already 5th quickest. He's only quarter of a second away from provisional pole, so this is going to put him somewhere near the front. Here comes the blue and white Winwood Racing Mercedes. Lucas looking for his first pole position of the year, comes out of the final turn. There's the checkered flag. He's going to give this everything. He comes over the line. Is it enough? No. He goes into 3rd place.
Feller.
Mirko Bortolotti, absolute best middle sector. Feller's gone quickest of all, 121.038, but Bortolotti is on course for pole position potentially here. Wait for the Lamborghini. Here he is, number 92. This is the lap, I think, as long as he's had a good run through the final couple of turns. Bortolotti is 4th. Feller, Schmidt and Priding are now Stoltz ahead of him. He's down to 5th. Can he get pole position? He's got a really good chance. Over the line he goes. Yes! He does it by a 1/10 of a second. Mirko Bortolotti goes to the top of the times, claims provisional pole position. I think everybody else has taken the flag. He was, like you said, Brian, pretty much the last one over the line. Timed to perfection from SSR Performance. Last time we were racing, he had a great Saturday at the Nürburgring. He had a nightmare on the Sunday. Remember, the car packed up in qualifying. He never even got to run the car in anger in qualifying or in the race. Today, it's the polar opposite. He's got pole position, and it is delirium in the garage at SSR Performance. Stefan Schlunstein are partying.
You think they've won the race, wouldn't you? Brilliant.
Mirko, pole position on the Lausitzring. Congrats, mate. Frank is P4, Brining is 5.
So that mixed up qualifying session has really turned things upside down. Yesterday's winner, Jack Aitken, in 11th place, and he's going to have a success ballast on top of that as well. Kelvin van der Linde down in 14th. We saw Sheldon van der Linde going around early, putting the laps in. He's down in 21st.
So Mirko Bortolotti gets his 2nd pole of the year. And last time he was on pole position, he won the race at the Nürburgring. So can he do the same? And if he can do the same, he might be the championship leader by the end of the weekend. 25 points up for grabs in the race. He's just scored 3 points, so he's now got the gap in the championship down to just 5 points to Thomas Preining, who's going to start 5th on the grid, although that's a much better qualifying than he's endured lately for the championship leader. So Bortolotti on pole position, Feller 2nd, Clement Schmidt in 3rd, one of his best ever qualifyings in the DTM. He's had a couple of top 3s, but great effort from Clement Schmidt. And his birthday weekend, he was 33 on Friday. Franck Pereira has had misfortunes of late as well, but teammate to Mirko Bortolotti finds himself 4th, Thomas Preining 5th, Lucas Stoltz in 6th place. And then David Schumacher, we didn't really see David, but he's come through like a stealth missile, hasn't he? 7th place. Excellent effort for Schumacher. And he had a really good qualifying to 4th place on a damp track, a drying track at the Nürburgring. But that is his 2nd top 10 qualifying of the season and his 2nd best ever. Lucas Auer in 8th place in the end. Maximilian Powell in 9th. Thierry Vermeulen in 10th. And then Jack Aitken, yesterday's winner, as you say, with all that extra weight on the car. It's going to have to try and do something from 11th place. Well done to Marvin Dietz as well. Good effort. 12th place for him on his first run in the car this weekend as he steps into the number 99 Porsche for TalkSport.
Brilliant stuff. That's really shaken things up a bit, hasn't it? Yeah, good stuff from Marvin Dietz and also Max Paul as well. But Lucas Auer, well, I think he was probably expecting better than 8th from that. He was the 3rd fastest in the Mercedes runners, Lucas Stoltz being the fastest Mercedes. The 2 Ferraris running together, 10th and 11th, Thierry Vermeulen and Jack Aitken. So you get the feeling that was the best that was going to come from that car. The highest placed Porsche is Thomas Preining.
Alessio Delayed there back to the pits. So highs and lows, isn't it? They bookend the table, SSR Performance Lamborghinis, one at the top of the times, one at the bottom of the times. Sheldon van der Linde looking a bit nonplussed as he makes his way back to the garage, as you would imagine, 21st on the grid he's going to be. Some quick drivers lower down the order, but there are the top 10. Bortolotti, Feller, Schmidt, Pereira, Preining, Stoltz, Schumacher, Auer, Powell and Vermeulen. Thierry Vermeulen with another good session. We know the Ferrari's quick. There's no success ballast on Thierry Vermeulen's car for the race. I'll be hoping for high things. Jack Aitken might have a tough day at the office from 11th with an extra 30 kilograms on the car compared to yesterday. Marvin Dietz, as we say, doing a great job there for 12th place. But look, Sheldon van der Linde, 3rd in the championship. Marco Wittmann, double champion. Maro Engel has been in the points in every race. Quick drivers back there down the order. And yeah, less than a second covering the top 25 cars in the session. Once again, well done to David Schumacher. Yeah. Excellent effort from him. He briefly led the race yesterday. He and Arjamani were the last to come in and pit, but the car was suffering issues with the brakes, so he retired the car. And there's the pole position award being presented to Mirko Bortolotti. 3 championship points, just as importantly. Mirko looks a lot fresher than when we saw him yesterday, that's for sure.
Brilliant. There's Jack Aitken, yesterday's winner, chatting to René Rast, just trying to listen in. Can't really hear.
Yeah, so Jack Aitken, yesterday's winner with work to do. René Rast from even further down the grid. A lively qualifying session. That's it from the commentary box. Back down to Verena.
And I'm here with the pole setter, Mirko Bortolotti. Congratulations. We see a smile on your face, obviously. Do you think you're going to be able to repeat what you did at Nürburgring from pole to victory?
I don't know. We will see in the afternoon. But now, for now, I enjoy the pole position, which is amazing. And just feels so good.
It just feels so good, and also only 8 points to catch up. So hopefully after race, you'll be the leader of the championship. Who knows? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's another 3 points gained now. So it's 5. So getting closer to the target.
Thank you so much, Mirko. And yeah, so it's only 5 points difference. So let's see. It's definitely going to be a very exciting race later on, that's for sure. You don't want to miss it. So see you later. Here are the highlights. Bye-bye.